Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 7 college football rankings. So we'll start off by briefly recapping my rankings from last week and what those teams did in Week 6. Well, last week, at number 10, I had LSU. They were on a bye. 9th was Alabama. They beat Vanderbilt 30-14. 8th was Penn State. They were upset by UCLA, losing 42-37. 7th was Oklahoma. They easily beat Kent State 44-0. 6th was Texas A&M. They rolled past Mississippi State 31-9. 5th was Texas. They were upset by Florida 29-21. 4th was Ole Miss. They were on a bye. 3rd, I had Oregon. They were also on a bye. 2nd was Miami. They beat Florida State 28-22. And number 1, I had Ohio State, who dominated Minnesota 42-3. But getting into this week's rankings, beginning things at number 10, I've got Indiana. So Indiana enters my top 10 at number 10 as a result of Texas and Penn State losing and falling out of my top 10. But Indiana, they were on a bye this week. Next week, they have a huge matchup as they head on the road to take on Oregon. Number 9, I have Texas Tech. So Texas Tech, they move up to number 9 after a nice 35-11 win over Houston. And this was a good game for Texas Tech. They jumped out to the lead very early, took a 15-3 lead at the end of the first quarter, and they led the entire game. The offense was great for Texas Tech, putting up 35 points, and they were great all around. Quarterback Baron Morton threw for 345 yards and a touchdown, and Texas Tech also ran the football extremely effectively, as running back Jacoby Williams had 107 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Texas Tech as a team ran for 200 yards. And then the defense for Texas Tech, they were also great, holding Houston to just 11 points and forcing 3 turnovers. But another good win for Texas Tech. They've remained undefeated, and I've got them at number 9. 8th, I have LSU. So LSU moves up a couple spots as a result of the teams ahead of them losing, but LSU was on a bye this week. Next week, they host South Carolina. 7th, I have Alabama. So Alabama, they enter at number 7 after a good win over Vanderbilt 30-14. And this was another good performance for Alabama, although this game was a little bit closer than the final score may suggest. But Alabama still played well. The offense, they put up 30 points against a good Vanderbilt defense, and quarterback Ty Simpson was great once again. And I had my concerns about him coming into the season, but he's been really good so far this year for Alabama, and he is very much in the Heisman race, and he had another good game this week, as he threw for 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And then on the ground, Alabama was also good, as the running back Jam Miller ran for 136 yards and got in the end zone. And then defensively, Alabama, they were great. They held Vanderbilt to just 14 points, didn't allow any points in the second half, and they forced 2 turnovers. But a nice win for Alabama, beating Vanderbilt this time, and they're looking better and better with each passing week, and I've got Alabama at number 7. 6, I have Oklahoma. So Oklahoma enters at number 6 after they easily beat Kent State 44-0. And this was a good win for them against a bad team. The offense for Oklahoma played well with 44 points, and they were able to do that without starting quarterback John Mateer, who's obviously out about a month with a hand injury. But backup quarterback Michael Hawkins Jr. played well with 4 total touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing. And Oklahoma, they actually found success on the ground for really the first time this season, as they ran for 185 yards. And then the defense for Oklahoma, they were also great. They shut out Kent State, allowed just 135 total yards. But this was a nice and easy win for Oklahoma against a bad Kent State team, and I've got Oklahoma at number 6. 5th, I have Texas A&M. So Texas A&M is another team that moves up as a result of the losses to the teams ahead of them, and they did their part too, as they beat Mississippi State 31-9. And this was another good game for the Texas A&M offense. Their pass game was solid as Marcel Reed threw for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was the run game where they absolutely dominated, as running back Reuben Owens ran for 142 yards, and Texas A&M as a team ran for 303 yards and 2 touchdowns on 5.9 yards per carry. And that is really encouraging for this Texas A&M offense, because they had really struggled to run the ball early in the season, but now they've gotten the run game going. You match that with the pass game we saw earlier in the season, and this offense is really good. Then the defense for Texas A&M, they're also great. They held Mississippi State to just 9 points and got 4 sacks. And they were also great on 3rd down, holding Mississippi State to 1 conversion in 10 attempts. But this was another good game for Texas A&M. After a dominant win over Mississippi State, I've got them at 5. 4th, I have Ole Miss. So they were on a bye this week. Next week, they face Washington State. 3rd, I have Oregon. They were also on a bye this week. Next week, they got a huge game as they host Indiana. 2nd, I have Miami. So Miami remains at number 2 after a nice win over Florida State, winning by a score of 28-22. And Miami, they were really in control of this game the entire way. They were up 28-3 entering the fourth quarter, and then they allowed Florida State to come back a little bit, but they were able to hold on for the win. But this was a good game for Miami. The offense played well with 28 points, and Carson Beck threw for 4 touchdowns. 2 to Malachi Toney, 2 to CJ Daniels. And then the run game for Miami wasn't amazing, just 97 yards, but the offense still found success. And then the defense for Miami, they played pretty well. They did end up allowing 22 points over 400 yards, but Miami's defense dominated most of this game. And they also did a great job of shutting down a great Florida State run game, holding just 3.5 yards per carry. And they also forced 3 turnovers. But this is another really good win for Miami, and they probably have the best resume in the country so far this season, because they have good wins over Notre Dame, Florida, South Florida, and now Florida State. Now, despite them having the best resume in the country, I am going to keep them at number 2, because I really don't think Ohio State has done anything that should have them dropping from number 1. But if you want to put Miami 1 and Ohio State 2, I don't really have a problem with it. And coming in at number 1, obviously I just said it, it's Ohio State. So Ohio State, they remain at number 1 after they dominated Minnesota 42-3. And this was another nice win for Ohio State. The offense played well with 42 points, and quarterback Julian Sayin had another great game, as he threw for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wide receivers Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate were also great for Ohio State, as Jeremiah Smith caught 2 touchdowns, and Carnell Tate had 9 catches for 183 yards and also found the end zone. And in Ohio State, they were also pretty good on the ground with 135 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then defensively for Ohio State, they continued to dominate. They allowed just 3 points and 162 total yards, and Ohio State's defense has now gone 9 straight quarters without allowing a touchdown. But Ohio State, they continue to look great, and I've got them at number 1 in my rankings. And moving on to my updated college football playoff predictions. So there's a few changes here. The first is obviously I've got Texas and Penn State failing to make the playoff. It's definitely still possible for them to make the playoff, but it's extremely unlikely now that they already have 2 losses. Plus they've got some tough teams left in their schedule. But with Texas and Penn State now missing the playoff, I have Notre Dame and LSU now making the playoff. But running through the seeds real quick, I've got Ohio State is the 1 seed, 13-0, winning the Big Ten. My 2 seed is Oregon at 12-1. Their only loss coming in the Big Ten championship game to Ohio State. 3 seed, I have Alabama at 12-1, winning the SEC. And I've switched this from Georgia to Alabama from last week to this week. I just think Alabama is the best team in the conference. It's very possible it's somebody else, but I think Alabama is the best team in the SEC. My 4 seed is Miami, 12-1, winning the ACC. My 5 seed is Georgia at 11-2. My 6 seed is Texas Tech at 12-1, winning the Big 12. 7 seed is Ole Miss at 11-1. 8 seed I have Texas A&M at 10-2. My 9 seed I have Indiana at 10-2. My 10 seed I have Notre Dame at 10-2. My 11 seed I have LSU also at 10-2. And I do have LSU here at 11. It was kind of hard to come up with a team for this 11 spot. It could go a few different ways, LSU, Tennessee, even Georgia Tech. But I decided to put LSU here because if they do end up going 10-2, then they'll have a win against either Alabama or Texas A&M, and I do think that would be enough to get them into the college football playoff. And my 12 seed remains Tulane, the Group of 5 conference champion. It's definitely possible it's somebody like North Texas or Memphis or South Florida, but I still have Tulane. I've just had them for the past few weeks. I'll stick with them, but it's definitely possible it's somebody else. But those are my Week 7 college football rankings and my updated college football playoff predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.